Chapter 141, True Control. The man-faced demon spider's giant body shuddered as yellow-green blood continuously gushed from its abdomen. It wanted to attack, to shoot some spider threads, but they only flew a few meters before hitting the ground. They were completely unsuitable to use as an attack now. It continually struggled like this as it grew weaker by the minute. Simultaneously, a yellow light shot out from the curtain of darkness. The darkness gradually vanished while the yellow light lingered on the pale-faced Tang Wuling. His arm had already transformed back to its normal human form, with only golden scales covering it now. Thanks to those scales, he hadn't suffered any corrosion from the man-faced demon spider's blood. 100-year man-faced demon spider, killed. Shishi had already been pulled back a while ago, so the five of them stood there, exchanging looks of astonishment from prevailing over such a calamity. Wang Jingxi couldn't help but embrace Tang Wuling with an ardent expression that overflowed with passion. This battle had fully displayed the team's ability and was the culmination of the knowledge and experience they had gained. In the end, the formidable man-faced demon spider had died by their hands. From start to finish, there had been no room for luck. They had claimed this victory purely with their own strength. Even as they blatantly stared at the corpse of the man-faced demon spider that was a few meters away from them, they still couldn't believe that they had succeeded. Tang Wuling was the most surprised of them all. He had been prepared to sacrifice himself in their plan, yet they had actually achieved victory. If his golden dragon claw had been unable to resist the toxins, or if Gu Yue's eyes had been incapable of shielding him from the corrosion of the spider's blood, he would have died. Fortunately, the two of them were able to give a perfect performance. His golden dragon claw proved its might once again with its immunity to the toxins corrosion, while Gu Yue's control of ice had been able to isolate the toxic blood for a few moments. These two elements had combined to give him enough time to break away from the corpse and toxins. Every single moment of their battle had been ridden with extreme danger. The Spirit Pagoda staff member stared at the screen dumbstruck. He was completely speechless. Just how perfect were their tactics? That was actually a 100-year man-faced demon spider that even 4 or 5 ring soulmasters would avoid. They wouldn't even dare to engage it without thorough planning. Yet, this group of kids, who at most of 2 rings, actually performed a miracle and defeated the man-faced demon spider. This is unbelievable. Even Wu Zhangkong was a bit shaken by this. A smile had actually appeared on his ice-cold face. He meets the requirements of a control system soulmaster. He quietly muttered under his breath. He's also the one who has made the most progress in the last 3 months. This battle had tested not only the limits of their strength, but also the breadth of their knowledge. During their battle, Wu Zhangkong took note of every single detail with his experienced eyes. Even if the students were baffled, Wu Zhangkong observed the events with clarity. It wasn't until Tang Wuling appeared beneath the man-faced demon spider that he suddenly realized Tang Wuling's intentions. Teacher Wu, are these children thinking about joining the Spirit Pagoda? If I send a recording of this battle to the higher-ups, I think an exception can be made to accept these children as members. Their potential is simply astonishing. The Spirit Pagoda staff member finally snapped out of his daze, but his eyes were still filled with shock and admiration. As a staff member of the Spirit Pagoda, he had a comprehensive knowledge of various soul beasts, as well as soulmaster battle styles. Yet, after witnessing the unconstrained battle style of Class 0, every single inch of his body was in awe. He could only describe the battle as shocking. To prevail over the man-faced demon spider, the first thing the students needed was a deep understanding of it. At first, he assumed the children to be foolishly standing still, letting the man-faced demon spider weave its webs and continuously tighten it around them. After their remarkable performances in their previous battles, it came as a disappointment. He'd been anticipating just how these children would deal with a powerful soul beast such as the man-faced demon spider. The staff member thought that the best course of action would have been to immediately flee. Although the man-faced demon spider was fast, it was lacking in long-range attacks. As long as they were ahead of it, they would have a chance at escaping. The second best choice, in his opinion, was for one of them to sacrifice themselves in order to allow the others to escape. This way, they would minimize their losses. There was once a team of soulmasters who similarly encountered the man-faced demon spider in the Spirit Ascension platform and had verified that these two choices were indeed the best. Yet, the response Tang Wuling initiated with his team today had widened the staff members' horizons. Gu Yue hadn't revealed her control of the earth element until this battle. Against the man-faced demon spider and its toxic spider webs, it wasn't her other elements, but her use of the earth element that had the greatest impact on the battle. As the man-faced demon spider continuously decreased their area of mobility, thinking them trapped, it was, in truth, the one to have been tricked instead. Soul beasts were also living creatures, and so they shared some similarities with humans. Once it felt that its victory was all but assured, it subconsciously relaxed a bit. None of their soul power fluctuations were particularly strong, and they were trapped in a cramped space. To the 100-year man-faced demon spider, they were as good as dead. It didn't consider any other possibility of survival remaining for them. At that moment, it decided to shoot out its largest spider web net, minimizing the maneuvering space of the 5 opponents. Thus, the 5 students were forced to attack the man-faced demon spider. Clearly, it never imagined an obelisk would suddenly shoot out of the ground to block the spider web though, as it had been stunned for a split second. Then there was the blue silver grass, which had shot up from the ground and bound both the spider and Wang Jingxi, who had appeared out of nowhere. Just this was enough to praise their coordination. The man-faced demon spider responded amazingly as well. It effectively used the sharp points of its legs to resist the blue silver grass and bought it the time necessary to shoot out another spider web. Yet in the end, it was tricked. Wang Jingxi was pulled back by a strand of blue silver grass, and the spider web it shot out was met with nothing but air. Then, Shishi's light dragon storm appeared out of nowhere to begin the first wave of their assault. It was at that moment that the staff member began to shower them with praise. After all, who wouldn't exclaim in admiration of children who could reach such a level? At the very least, they had secured a chance at victory. There was also the vital golden strand of blue silver grass, which was the result of fusing it with the spirit soul. Tang Wuling controlled it perfectly to trap the man-faced demon spider. However, how could he have imagined the miraculous scene that occurred after? That strand of golden blue silver grass had broken with meticulous precision and timing. Thanks to the strand's pulling force, that final moment caused the man-faced demon spider to stumble as the child dragged himself under its body. At the same time, Gu Yue had manipulated the earth to propel him even further, ensuring he slid beneath the spider completely. When the staff member saw Shishi unleash his light dragon storm on the spider's rear, he thought the children didn't have the necessary understanding of the man-faced demon spider's weakest point on its underside. He was proven wrong. However, in but a few moments, it turned out that the chain of attacks didn't stop with Shishi, and the final attack was the most marvelous and shocking one. Covered in ice to protect himself from the toxins, Tang Wuling pulled himself underneath the spider, his toxin-resistant golden claw ready to attack. A total victory. It had been a total victory. They hadn't lost a single member. These children who had 2 rings at the most were actually able to kill a 100-year man-faced demon spider. If anyone heard this, they would find it completely unbelievable. Was the man-faced demon spider stupid? Of course not. This was all due to the meticulous planning of these 5 students. The staff member couldn't help but stare at the handsome, young teacher. This is the man who taught them. Chapter 142, Massacre of the Toxic Spiderweb. As a side effect of exhausting his soul power, Tang Wuling felt fatigue wash over him as he sat down on the ground. Right. That feeling of controlling everyone had left an indelibly deep impression upon his heart. This sense of satisfaction just couldn't be gained elsewhere. He had used little gold light to strengthen his blue silver grass, but there were no benefits that didn't come with a cost. During the time his grass had been strengthened, his soul power had also been rapidly consumed. It wasn't that he didn't want to keep the man-faced demon spider bound the whole time. If he could do that, he would be able to easily kill the man-faced demon spider with his golden dragon claw, regardless of whether he struck a vital spot or not. However, the soul power consumption was simply too great for him to sustain. He had no choice but to recall gold light from his blue silver grass in order to preserve enough soul power to use his golden dragon claw. Although his actions seemed to have been in perfect concert with Gu Yue at that final moment, in reality, it was simply that everything had gone according to their plan. Of course, no one would actually believe this. All of their actions incorporated a deep understanding of one another. In fact, even Tang Wuling and Gu Yue were surprised by the depth of their mutual understanding. That was an incredible victory. Zhang Yanxi exclaimed, giddy with excitement and admiration. His words echoed everyone's thoughts at that moment. Everyone, rest here and recover your soul power, Tang Wuling said weakly, before taking the lead and closing his eyes to begin meditating. As for the issue of safety, why did they need to worry about that now? They were surrounded by the highly toxic spider webs of the man-faced demon spider, preventing both humans and soul beasts from approaching. They were in a perfectly safe position to rest right now. The 5 sat in a circle with Tang Wuling in the center. Although they had been acting as a team for several months already, it wasn't until a few moments ago in their triumph that they truly acknowledged Tang Wuling as their team captain. Tang Wuling had controlled their entire battle against the calamity known as the man-faced demon spider, and had even fought with it face to face. Even though he may have potentially suffered torturous pain at the hands of the man-faced demon spider, he had not backed down from his duty. His unyielding will had truly been admirable to them. Not only had he fulfilled his duties as the team captain, but he had also demonstrated the blue silver brass power over control. Regardless of whether they were friend or foe, the degree of control would be unparalleled and would likely be even more amazing if his soul power had not been so weak. The dim yellow light of spirit energy was slowly being absorbed into Tang Woling's body. Despite its outward similarities to other yellow spirit energies, the energy from the 100-year man-faced demon spider was far different from those of ordinary soul beasts. The 1,000-year soul beast's energy they had killed before hadn't been like this either. Due to it currently being the rebellion period, the energy was even more rich and distinct. The benefits of killing a 100-year man-faced demon spider soon appeared. As it was currently the rebellion period, there were more soul beasts actively roaming the forest than usual. Very quickly, soul beasts began to appear. Not all soul beasts possessed sharp senses, and different soul beasts possessed different ways of perceiving the world. As such, they were all taking a detour around the remains of the chaotic battle. The man-faced demon spider possessed a terrifying toxin within its body, as well as its webs. Furthermore, its webs were extremely tough, to the point that even large soul beasts might not be able to break it if they charged into it. And after that, they would only be met with tragedy. 10-year soul beasts would be killed in a flash by the toxic spider web, while 100-year soul beasts would only be able to struggle for a few moments before they too met their demise. As long as one was ensnared by the spider webs, there was no hope for survival. Those with keen senses could avoid the webs, but those with dull senses could only fall prey to the man-faced demon spider. Spirit energy overflowed from the soul beasts that died within the webs. If it were the normal spirit ascension platform, the energy would quickly disperse, but it was currently the rebellion period, so the dispersion rate was much slower. Not too far from the spider webs, the 5 students of class 0 meditated in the only calm of the webbed chaos. They were subconsciously slowly absorbing all of the spirit energy of the beasts that fell prey to the webs. In the beginning, there were only a few weak soul beasts that died, but gradually, the number and strength of soul beasts increased. More and more spirit energy drifted over to the 5 students. How can this be? There must be some issue with the spirit ascension platform. The staff member stood there, dumbstruck as he watched the spirit energy surrounding the 5 coalesce and grow stronger and stronger. His expression was almost as if he had seen a ghost. Could he say the 5 of them were cheating? Absolutely not. However, the amount of spirit energy the 5 would be able to absorb would only increase as time passed. This spirit energy didn't come from thin air either. Its origin the spirit pagoda's greatest secret. Yet, it was being consumed rapidly right now. It could be said that the students of class 0 had accidentally exploited the strength of the man-faced demon spider to obtain such a wonderful opportunity. Teacher Wu, I'll definitely have to report this situation to the higher-ups, the staff member solemnly stated. Wu Zhangkong merely glanced at him. What rules have my students broken? They defeated the man-faced demon spider and now they're just meditating and recovering. Everything happened naturally. With my impression of the spirit ascension platform, you shouldn't have the power to change any of this either. The spirit ascension platform runs by itself. You can only provide maintenance, nothing more. Beads of sweat dripped down the staff member's forehead. Yes, the spirit ascension platform cannot be easily altered, but if this continues on, your students will also experience difficulties. Can their spiritual power and body bear the pain of their spirit soul evolving to the 1,000-year level? Especially the 2 children with only 1 ring. Their pain will be even greater. They will definitely be in danger if their spirit soul's level surpasses what they can handle. That was right. In their current situation, their spirit souls were continuously undergoing small evolutions and eventually, their bodies would meet the limit of what they could support. Fortunately, they were still quite far from meeting their limits. As for whether a 1-ring soul master could support the rebound of gaining a 1,000-year spirit soul, there was not one bit of worry in Wu Zhangkong's heart. Tang Woling's body was far stronger than an ordinary soul master and he was also at the spirit connection realm, so a 1,000-year spirit soul would be no problem for him. He was even less worried about Douluo. She was on the boundary of reaching rank 20 and gaining a 2nd soul ring, while both her body and spiritual power were superb. These brats have really gone above and beyond this time for their final exam. Seeing Wu Zhangkong void of any sort of reaction, hesitation crept into the heart of the staff member. Still, he picked up the communicator and dialed a number. Anyway, the original reason why they existed was to ensure that the spirit ascension platform operated normally. Tang Woling's body felt bloated after he finished recovering all of his soul power. When he opened his eyes, he was met with a frightening scene. An extremely thick yellow light surrounded him and his comrades. Is this spirit energy? A bit further away was a pile of soul beasts' corpses. Some of them had already been dissolved by the spider web's corrosion, but many were still mostly intact, and there were even some that were still in their last moments of struggling for their life. He had exhausted the most amount of soul power, so he was also the last one to awake from his meditation. Everyone else had long awakened and were all staring dully at the scene outside. What's going on? Tang Wolin quietly asked. It's the toxins, the man-faced demon spider's toxins. The normally quiet Wang Jingxi said with an odd expression. Tang Wolin quickly understood their current situation. The man-faced demon spider truly was worthy of being called a soul beast killer. Its toxic spider webs had killed numerous 10-year and 100-year soul beasts. Moreover, all of the beasts' spirit energy had been absorbed by them. Their spirit souls had continuously evolved in such a fortunate situation. Without any conscious thought, Tang Wolin looked down to see gold light on his chest shaking its head. Its body had expanded by a whole circle. If we continue like this, won't our spirit souls? Tang Wolin said in shock. A bitter smile forced its way onto Wang Jingxi's face. Not really. There's only so much our bodies can bear right now. Those of us with 2 soul rings definitely can't do it. At the very least, I know for certain that I can't support 2,000-year soul rings with my current level of spiritual power. I estimate that my limit is 500 years for both my soul rings. Yang Xi's limits should also be similar, maybe just a bit better actually. Only you and Douluo haven't gotten your 2nd rings yet, so you two might still have a chance at obtaining 1,000-year soul rings. Tang Wolin immediately made an awkward expression. Considering their current situation, if their spirit souls grew saturated with spirit energy, then they wouldn't be able to enter the spirit ascension platform anymore in battle soul beasts. There was also the potential danger of their spirit souls exploding due to their insufficient spiritual power. You guys don't need to look so confused. The man-faced demon spider's webs will disappear soon. We need to prepare to depart. Douluo's voice cut in. Chapter 143. Another chance at spirit ascension. Tang Wolin swept his gaze over the spider webs in his surroundings, and sure enough, they were beginning to weaken. There were even some cracks visible in the webs now. Although the man-faced demon spider was extremely toxic, there was still a limit to its toxicity. Once the protection of the webs disappeared, they would no longer be safe to rest in this spot as after all. They, too, were afraid of the toxic spider webs. Tang Wolin asked, how much spirit energy do you all think we've absorbed? Douluo frowned. We all should have absorbed 400 to 500 years worth of spirit energy. You and I have it all concentrated in our single soul ring, while the others have increased each of their 2 soul rings by about 200 years. There should also still be about 100 or 200 years worth of spirit energy in our surroundings, but it'll take us too long to absorb it. We'll need to be especially careful about the soul masters after we depart. They're a much greater threat to us now than soul beasts. Douluo's deduction was correct. A thick air of spirit energy currently hung around their bodies, and if another party of soul masters saw them, they might immediately be targeted. After all, there were no true deaths in the spirit ascension platform, and who wouldn't want to absorb such rich spirit energy? Tang Wolin responded with a calm smile. Take it easy. In one move, we've already passed our final exam and absorbed far more spirit energy than usual. Even if we encounter a powerful foe and get ejected from the spirit ascension platform, that's okay, too. Everyone's recovered now, right? Let's go then. Tang Wolin's words had injected vigor into everyone's minds. He took out his hammers once more and reminded his comrades, everyone, pay attention to how much your spirit soul can bear. If you feel like you're approaching the limits of how much it can absorb, then immediately press the button to exit the spirit ascension platform. Don't be greedy, or else your body or your spiritual power might collapse, and then you'll really be in trouble. Although he himself was beginning to feel a bit bloated, he hadn't reached the limits yet. According to Gu Yue's assessment, he should still be able to absorb a lot more spirit energy, so he didn't have to worry about it for now. After all, the strength of his body and spiritual power was directly related to how strong of a spirit soul he could support. There was no need to even speak of his body's strength and his spiritual power growth rate. They were both outstanding, allowing him to already reach the spirit connection realm, so he certainly had the capabilities to bear a single 1,000-year spirit soul. A 1,000-year spirit soul. Would he truly be able to walk this path? Tang Wuling led his team out, carefully avoiding the toxic webs. They left their miraculous, safe heaven and once again returned to the dangers of the forest. The chaos of an assortment of noises soon entered their ears. There were the sounds of collisions, the roars of soul beasts, and occasionally, some wretched screams from soul masters. It truly was a rebel period. Tang Wuling mulled over their choices for a moment before he decided to have everyone absorb the remaining spirit energy in the area. Normally, they would have to kill countless soul beasts before earning this much spirit energy, though it would take a while to absorb all of this energy. It was a rare opportunity for them. Wu Zhangkong could help them out in the matter of combat experience, but not in evolving their spirit soul. This was the most important goal in entering the spirit ascension platform after all. A sudden realization dawned on Tang Wuling. Those with fewer soul rings actually have an advantage in the spirit ascension platform. Wang Jingxi, Zhang Yangxi and Xixi all have 2 soul rings. Furthermore, Xixi rings come from 2 spirit souls, and they'll need to evolve all of their soul rings to the 1,000-year level in order to evolve their spirit soul. In other words, the more soul rings someone has, the more spirit energy necessary to evolve the spirit soul. The strength of a soul master's spiritual power and body also determine how much spirit energy they can bear to absorb. Wang Jingxi and Zhang Yangxi can't handle having 2,000-year soul rings then. Their spiritual powers are both too weak. Having come to this realization, Tang Wuling's heart began to stir. If it's like this, then isn't being a 1-ring soul master the best for the spirit ascension platform? If my spirit soul actually evolves to the 1,000-year level, then once I hit rank 20 and get a second soul ring, that ring will also be at the 1,000-year level. And when I get my third, it will be at the 1,000-year level, too. Wouldn't I save a lot of money like that? Tang Wuling's heart sped up at this discovery, but he soon calmed himself at the thought of the rare situation they were in. First of all, the spirit ascension platform was strictly monitored by the spirit pagoda, and they had already calculated the maximum level of spirit soul a 1-ring soul master could bear to be a little over 400 years. Basically, it was impossible for a 1-ring soul master to attain a 1,000-year spirit soul. However, the spirit energy they absorbed would be split when they reached rank 20 and gained a second soul ring. Tang Wuling's current situation could be said to be truly marvelous. One reason was that he coincidentally found himself such a wonderful cultivation environment, while the other was that his body was far stronger than normal people's, allowing him to absorb more spirit energy. These 2 factors combined to allow him to potentially obtain a 1,000-year spirit soul. Following this line of thinking, his original guess that the academy wanted them all to obtain 1,000-year spirit souls was wrong. The others wouldn't even be able to support 2,000-year soul rings even if they wanted to. At most, they would only be able to absorb enough spirit energy until they reached their current limits. In the future, as he grew stronger and gained more soul rings, it would only grow increasingly harder to evolve his spirit soul. This was the reason why spirit evolution was rarely seen in the spirit ascension platform. Ordinary soul masters with 10-year spirit souls wouldn't even be lucky enough to enter the spirit ascension platform, and even if they did, they wouldn't be able to defeat any soul beasts. Those with the means to directly obtain a 100-year spirit soul would not for such a convoluted method of evolving a 10-year spirit soul either. As for those who wanted to evolve their 100-year to a 1,000-year spirit soul, the vast majority had bodies that were too weak to bear it. Everything was clear to him now, and more importantly, he had found the path he would travel from now on. Others might not be able to evolve their spirit souls, but I can. My body is far stronger than normal, and my spiritual power is high too. Though, I can't even compare myself to Douluo. With his current circumstances, he could absorb as much spirit energy as he wanted, until his body reached the saturation point. He wasn't clear on the strength of his body after absorbing the power of the Golden Dragon King's first seal, but he knew he was about as strong as an ordinary soul master with 3 or 4 rings. With this in mind, he deduced that he would have no problems obtaining a 1,000-year spirit soul. After this was over, he planned on having Wu Zhangkong assess him. Then there was the matter of his spiritual power. The level his spiritual power attained would determine just how much spirit energy he could absorb in the spirit ascension platform. Teacher Wu said that if I joined his organization, I'd be able to obtain a cultivation method. It seems I should really consider joining it now. As for talent, my comrades are all far more talented than me. After all, my martial soul is just blue silver grass. Tang Wuling had no way of knowing whether or not his blue silver grass would continue to mutate as he broke the seals on the Golden Dragon King, but a soul master's spirit souls and soul rings were directly representative of their strength. If I can evolve my spirit soul once more, then I'll have paved the path for my next 2 soul rings. Even if I absorb as much spirit energy as my body can handle, my body will strengthen again when I break the next seal on the Golden Dragon King, and then I'll be able to absorb even more spirit energy. I need to have 2 rings before I break the next seal. But what if I break it when I'm only approaching 2 rings? Will I be able to survive it? Countless possibilities continuously appeared within Tang Wuling's mind, as if numerous, brilliant doors were slowly opening up to him. Chapter 144, My Staff Siblings. Tang Wuling was unaware that his current thoughts and ideas were laying a foundation for his future. A path never traveled before was quietly opening before him thanks to the power of the Golden Dragon King. Careful. Xixi warning jolted Tang Wuling out of his exciting train of thought. He instinctively responded by activating his bind skill to send out a mass of blue silver grass at the lean leopard in front of him. Xixi reacted in a flash, his light dragon blade streaking across the sky and slashing the 10-year soul beast. Sorry everyone, my mind was wandering just now. Tang Wuling bluntly apologized while a cold shiver ran down his spine. This is still the spirit ascension platform. Instead of being preoccupied by my ideas, I must focus on absorbing the remaining energy here. That should be my main goal for now. Zhang Yangxi gently chuckled. My mind was wandering just now, too. After all, the events just now changed the way we think about the spirit ascension platform. In any case, our harvest this time is already quite good. Even if we're to be eliminated, it'll still be fine. Tang Wuling sternly said, don't think like that. Since we've been blessed with luck this time, we have to do our best to secure the opportunity and not let it slip away. Otherwise, we'd be letting down the expectations of the heavens. Everyone, let's all do our best. He prepared these words to say at the moment of their departure. With their distracting thoughts dispelled, Tang Wuling took the lead once again, ready to intercept any potential dangers. Soon, a roar announced the presence of a monstrous, 6-armed python ahead of them, a 100-year 6-armed fire snake. Everyone, be careful, Tang Wuling grimly ordered. Suddenly, a bright, white light flashed from far ahead of them and heavily winded the 6-armed fire snake. A bizarre ice wall fluttered in the breeze, its points dripping with the blood of the soul beast. Although the 6-armed fire snake couldn't be considered a powerful soul beast, especially with regards to its defense, it was still shocking that it had been cut up so easily and quickly by that ice wheel. A figure with 3 soul rings underfoot appeared before them, quickly absorbing the spirit energy of the fallen 6-armed fire snake. It was a youth, about 17 or 18 years old. 2 yellow soul rings and 1 purple soul ring coiled around his body, identifying him as a soul elder. In his right hand, he held a snow white staff which was topped by an icy blue crystal. His expression was cold and arrogant, and the yellow aura around him was similar to that of the 5 students of Class 0. Powerful. The 5 teammates could already tell how powerful this soul elder was just by his aura. Not only that, he actually wasn't alone. A girl seemingly around the same age as Tang Wuling's group popped her head out from behind the youth. Her blue hair was styled in twintails, and she looked as if cut from jade. Her beauty was stunning and far exceeded that of Douluo's. In her hand was a staff nearly identical to the youth's, only hers being a bit smaller. A single yellow soul ring flickered beneath her, illuminating her frightened expression in the face of such killing. The male youth's gaze immediately fell upon the students of Class 0. When he saw the rich aura of spirit energy surrounding them, his eyes brightened a bit and he started taking large, decisive strides towards them. Tang Wuling's eyes narrowed as he signaled with his left hand to those behind him. Withdraw from the spirit ascension platform voluntarily and leave behind your spirit energy. Then you'll be spared from some pain, the youth with the ice staff stated, as if it was only natural. The corner of Xixi lips curled in disdain. Is he some sort of soul beast in human form? Apparently, this human-shaped soul beast can even speak now. It's done a good job evolving. The youth's eyes sharpened as a cold light flashed through them. He pointed his ice staff at Xixi, and immediately, an ice wall shot straight toward him. Xixi wouldn't take it lying down, as he swiftly responded with a slash of his light dragon dagger, shooting out a light dragon blade. Tang Wuling and the others didn't make a single move. Their opponent had 3 soul rings, with one of them even being a 1,000-year soul ring, so they couldn't underestimate his strength. It was best to let Xixi probe him first. The ice wall flew through the air, slashing in a bizarre arc and easily avoiding the light dragon blade. Then, it sped up, transforming into a whirlwind that appeared in front of Xixi in a flash. It changed directions and sped up. Such formidable control. This was Tang Wuling's first impression. Xixi was also given a fright, but he quickly adapted. He simply lowered his body to let the ice wall fly over him. Just as he was about to launch his counterattack, Douluo shouted, Let me try. A sparkling icicle shot forth and hit the ice wall precisely on its core, smashing it into pieces. The youth was stunned for a brief moment. The weakest point of his ice wall was the center, but it was extremely difficult to hit it due to its rapid spin and his precise control. Moreover, his opponent had accurately hit it with a mere icicle. This keenness of eyesight and level of control couldn't be considered weak at all. Gu Yue walked forward from beside Tang Wuling, who was shocked to see that Gu Yue didn't just have one soul ring anymore, but two. That was right. During the battle with the man-faced demon spider, Gu Yue had made a breakthrough. Although none of them knew what her spirit soul was, there was no doubt that it had already provided her with her second soul ring. A pair of yellow soul rings twinkled on her body, making her seem even more imposing than before. Even with a single soul ring, he had been able to defeat a two-ring soul master, as well as causing the twin soul Chishi to cower in fear. Just how powerful was she now that she had two soul rings and had absorbed all that spirit energy? It was impossible for Tang Wuling to even guess. Let me take a shot at him, Gu Yue told Tang Wuling. Okay. Tang Wuling understood her intentions. She wanted to verify what her current strength was. Now that she had two rings, the youth looked at Gu Yue and frowned. After seeing her attack with an icicle, he had come to the conclusion that she had a martial soul similar to his own. It was normal for soul masters with similar martial souls to feel an affinity with each other. Ice attribute. The youth asked. You'll find out in a moment. Gu Yue indifferently said as she raised her right hand to shoot another icicle while a bright light suddenly exploded out of her left hand. The youth was blinded and cried out in alarm. Bright light technique, an application of the light element. The youth unleashed his strength. Despite his temporary blindness, he wasn't disoriented. He raised the staff high, releasing a series of dazzling blue lights from its peak. Everyone was bathed in the light, including the young girl beside him. The icicle rapidly dissolved in the light, leaving not even a drop of water. Although Gu Yue's teammates had also been bathed in the blue light, they were further from the source and were able to vaguely make out the youth's shining second soul ring. Taking advantage of her opponent's momentary blindness, Gu Yue activated both her soul rings. With the activation of the first, it only seemed as if her aura had grown stronger, but when the second began to shine, they couldn't sense any changes to her. In a silver flash of light, Gu Yue suddenly appeared behind the youth. Countless lights covered the sky and flew forth, some of them attacking, while some shot straight into the sky instead. There were fireballs, wind blades, icicles and rocks, water, fire, earth and wind. She brilliantly controlled all four of these elements simultaneously. In another moment, the sky was painted with these elemental colors. Is she even human? The youth had nearly recovered from his blindness when he heard the girl beside him cry out in fear. Big brother, I can't see anything. What do I do? I can't see. Don't panic. Just close your eyes, and you'll be able to see again in a few moments. The youth's vision had already returned, only to find that his opponent had disappeared, leaving her teammates behind. She kindly pointed behind the youth who automatically turned his head to look and was greeted with the sight of the magnificently brilliant Gu Yue. Chapter 145, The Powerful Gu Yue. A green tornado gradually whipped up as Gu Yue waved her hands in a mystical rhythm midair. Its viciousness increased as numerous icicles flew inside. The youth wielding an ice staff thought he was going to lose his mind. He simply couldn't figure out what this lady's martial soul was. If he said that her martial soul was of the ice attribute, then what was with that bright light? And then, what about this current tornado? As the icicles merged with the tornado, Gu Yue's aura grew at an insane rate. Even though the youth was a fair distance away from her, he could sense just how crazy this soul skill of hers was. It's a dual attribute soul skill, so powerful. His second soul skill receded as his purple soul ring lit up. Tang Wuling's group watched the battle raptly. 1,000-year soul skill. They had never witnessed the might of a 1,000-year soul skill before. Furthermore, a 1,000-year soul skill was already considered high-end in the current era of soul masters. As for 10,000-year soul rings, Tang Wuling had only ever seen the one Wu Zhangkong had. Extremely pure ice energy erupted from the peak of the ice staff, slowly coalescing into a spear. Fury of ice. A powerful soul skill attack. The ice spear grew to 2 meters in length. Faint magic patterns shone in its shaft. The students of Class 0 could instinctively sense its power just by looking at it. They were certain that none of them could survive a single strike from that spear. This 1,000-year soul skill is so powerful. There's still time for all of you to voluntarily withdraw. The youth said to Gu Yue. His expression wasn't as cold as before. In his eyes, the fact that Gu Yue was able to release such powerful elemental waves despite only having 2 rings made her worthy of praise. Although he had always been prideful, he now felt a bit of pity for her. The corners of Gu Yue's lips curled. It wasn't a smile, as only one side of her mouth curled up. It was clearly a derisive smirk. The youth's eyes dulled with frost as he pointed his staff at Gu Yue once again. The ice spear shot forward in a flash, piercing toward Gu Yue like lightning. But in that split second, the icicle tornado in front of Gu Yue crumbled apart and she disappeared in a flash of silver. Space attribute soul skill. Is it that legendary teleportation skill? The godly skill that can evade the lock-on of another soul skill. How can this be? Countless possibilities flashed through the youth's mind in a single moment. His fury of ice had already flown off into the forest and disappeared. Big brother, what's that above us? The young girl beside him suddenly pointed at the sky. The youth looked up. He stared, dumbstruck, at the sight of brilliant fireworks raining down upon them from the sky. Even though his soul power had reached rank 35 and he was the strongest amongst his peers, it still didn't change the fact that he didn't have enough time to prepare another 1,000-year skill attack which drained so much soul power. How can this be? As that last thought ran through his head, he moved to hit the button on the back of the girl's hand. He couldn't let his little sister suffer. Immediately afterward, he was baptized in water, fire, earth and wind. 2 lights flickered one after another, then disappeared. Only, one of them had been sent out by the button, while the other had been destroyed by the 4 elements. Tang Wuling muttered, that guy's actually decent. He knew to protect the person at his side first. As he finished muttering, Tang Wuling abruptly felt as if there was something wrong with the atmosphere. When Gu Yue turned back to her team, she saw Shishi, Zhang Yangxi and Wang Jingxi standing there frozen, as if they were statues. Their faces looked even weirder since their emotions were in chaos. What's wrong with you guys? Tang Wuling asked, puzzled. Shishi respectfully bowed to Gu Yue. Big sister. From now on, you're my big sister. I won't ever argue with you again. Zhang Yangxi hastily mimicked Shishi's actions. Hello, big sister. Of the 3, only Wang Jingxi remained as he was, bashfully staring at Gu Yue with eyes filled with both admiration and fear. Gu Yue silently walked over to Tang Wuling's side and dully said, what's so amazing about defeating that arrogant guy? Come on, let's go. As she spoke, the spirit energy that had surrounded the ice staff wielding youth flew over to them like a storm. Of course, the one who absorbed most of it was Gu Yue, followed by Tang Wuling who was standing next to her. The spirit energy released from a soul master was no different from the energy received from killing soul beasts. After losing its host, the spirit energy would be absorbed by the closest being to it. On top of that, the closer one was to it, the more one would absorb. Tang Wuling finally understood why the other 3 had reacted like that. That was right. That was a 3-ring soul master, and not just any 3-ring soul master, it was one with a 1,000-year soul ring. That meant he had 2 spirit souls at the very least. They had seen just how powerful of a soul elder he had been when he had instantly killed the 6-armed fire snake. Yet, Gu Yue had only needed a few minutes to defeat him. They could only imagine how strong Gu Yue was now that she had 2 rings. Tang Wuling's heart began to race as he guessed what Gu Yue's second soul skill was. Her first soul skill was elemental tide, which strengthened her ability to attract elemental energy, but in the previous battle, she had been able to launch numerous low-level attacks as well as a icicle tornado. Using those attacks, she had provoked her opponent to use his 1,000-year soul skill, giving her an opening to kill him with a massive low-level attacks afterward. This level of control was simply too powerful and was definitely impossible to attain with just her spiritual power. If it wasn't for her second soul skill, then just how had she managed to cover the sky with low-level elemental attacks? Although neither of Gu Yue's soul skills were directly related to attacking, did she really need them to be? She could control 6 elements. With this array of elements, she could not only fight in countless styles, but also constantly change her tactics. And then there was her powerful, spiritual power. Among the students of Class 0, she was undoubtedly worthy of being called the strongest. It was no wonder that Shishi no longer had any dreams of defeating her. How could he even possibly be a worthy opponent for the powerful Gu Yue? Although, Gu Yue had been right. That ice staff wielding youth had been careless and hadn't even bothered trying to understand her abilities. If he had been more cautious and immediately used his second soul skill to defend, he likely wouldn't have lost so easily. Furthermore, Gu Yue couldn't possibly match him in a battle of attrition. Do you want to rest for a while? Tang Wuling asked Gu Yue. Gu Yue shook her head. Let's go. Without the protection of man-faced demon spider's webs, it was extremely dangerous for them to stay in place for an extended period of time. Soul beasts are approaching. Zhang Yangxi, who was in charge of reconnaissance, urgently informed them. There are a lot. It seems to be a group of soul beasts, and there are at least 30 of them. They seem to be blazing demon lions. Horror took over everyone's faces when they heard his words. Lions were one of the strongest types of soul beasts that lived on land. Generally speaking, the greater a soul beast's individual strength was, the greater its inclination toward being independent. That way, they would be able to obtain even more resources. Only lion-type soul beasts were unique in this aspect. With a single leader lion as the head of a pride of lionesses, they formed a powerful force regardless of whether they were in the forests or the prairies. Even soul beasts that were far stronger than the head lion wouldn't dare to provoke the pride lightly. The combined power of the whole pride was simply too fearsome. Run! Tang Wuling shouted the order without the slightest hesitation before turning around to flee. Gu Yue waved her hands and enveloped them in a green light. Its effects were stronger than before and now they felt as if they were light as feathers, giving them a large boost to their speed. Chapter 146. Successive eliminations. The greatest and most powerful advantage of Gu Yue's control over the elements was the fact that she could use them to attack, defend, and control, making her strong in every aspect of combat. Now that she had gained her second soul ring and become a soul grandmaster, her strength had received a massive boost, firmly cementing her position as the strongest member on the team. She took the lead and scouted for a path ahead while Jiang Yangxi continued to direct his little black eagle spirit soul to watch their rear. During his meditation, he had restored his spirit soul enough to come out again, but it was still too weak to contribute in combat and could only share its vision with Jiang Yangxi. If he wanted to completely restore it, he would need to meditate for several more days. A roar rumbled behind them. Soon, numerous red figures could be seen madly rushing toward them. Soul masters weren't the only ones who could absorb spirit energy. Soul beasts could too. It was precisely due to the powerful waves of spirit energy emanating from their bodies that had attracted the soul beasts. Blazing demon lions were one of the strongest soul beast races and could easily sense the students' spirit energy fluctuations, sparing their rapid pursuit. Run! If they could run for even a moment longer, then it was a moment longer they would live. Even a fraction of a second more would allow them to absorb a bit more spirit energy. They stood no chance against a whole pride of blazing demon lions. Perhaps if they all possessed 3 soul rings, they might have had a glimmer of hope. In a previous trip into the spirit ascension platform, they had been unlucky enough to encounter a pride of blazing demon lions and were met with a deadly fate. That horrific slaughter was still fresh in their memories. The blazing demon lions had surrounded them, and despite their best efforts to resist, they had been slaughtered within moments. For the rest of that day, they were plagued by the sensation of being burned alive. This pride of blazing demon lions was definitely in existence that stood at the very apex of the elementary spirit ascension platform. Though the man-faced demon spider was extremely powerful as an individual, even it wouldn't be able to survive an onslaught from a pride of wild lions. In such a scenario, its only choice would have been to flee. The headline of a pride of blazing demon lions was equivalent to a 1,000-year soul beast. As for the remaining lionesses, every one of them had the cultivation of a 100-year soul beast at least, if not a 1,000-year level. They were able to become so powerful simply because they had very few natural predators in this forest. Regardless of whether it was an individual soul master or a group of them, it was practically impossible to defeat the blazing demon lions with only 3 soul rings. This was the reason why Tang Wuling had immediately given the order to flee the moment he heard that they were being chased by blazing demon lions. The only thing they could do now was to run until they either lost the lions or perished. Of course, there was a silver lining to this. The roars of the blazing demon lions scared off all other soul beasts. After all, the lions were just as terrifying to soul beasts as they were to humans. Regardless of which lion species, they all shared one thing in common. They were carnivores. They hunted both humans and soul beasts alike. As such, not a single soul beast dared to block their way in their mad escape. Even if a soul beast were to appear before them, they would soon flee in fear when they heard the declarations of the lion's hunt. Despite their best efforts to flee, however, the blazing demon lions were natives and were able to traverse the great forest far more quickly than humans. Coordination was useless in such dire circumstances. Surprisingly, the slowest one among them was Wang Jingxi. Just as the lions were about to reach him, he helplessly slapped the button on the back of his hand. Wang Jingxi disappeared in a flash of light, the spirit energy he had yet to fully absorb drifting over to the remaining 4 soul masters. The next slowest person was Gu Yue. Although she could enhance her speed with the wind element, she still couldn't hope to match agility system soul masters or Tang Wuling, who had been born with innate divine strength. She was the second one to hit the button on the back of her hand. Perhaps it was due to her meticulous planning, but after she disappeared in a flash of light, all her unabsorbed spirit power flew toward Tang Wuling with barely any dispersion. The remaining 3 were too preoccupied with the blazing demon lions drawing closer and closer to question her control over the spirit energy. For the time being, they were able to gain a little breathing room thanks to Gu Yue as she had cast a giant blizzard at the pride behind them before she exited, slowing them momentarily. Captain, I have an idea, blurted out Jiang Yangxi. What? Tang Wuling urgently asked as he continued to madly flee. His method of running was different from Xishi's and Jiang Yangxi's as he wasn't an agility system soul master, and lacked air or speed. Instead, he possessed tremendous power. He would launch off the ground like an artillery shell, leaving a deep imprint in the ground each time. Every leap was filled with so much momentum that he didn't even bother dodging the branches. Instead, he plowed straight through them, just like a bulldozer. Tang Wuling's actions simply left Jiang Yangxi and Shishi speechless. This wasn't the point though. The important thing was that with this method, Tang Wuling was actually a bit faster than the other 2. In fact, Jiang Yangxi and Shishi could enjoy a clear path as long as they stayed right behind Tang Wuling. There should definitely be some soul beasts flying in the sky. I'll try and lure them down here, and maybe they'll attack the blazing demon lions. Don't go, it's too risky. Tang Wuling immediately rejected the proposal. Provoking the soul beasts in the sky was an easy matter, but with one mistake, Jiang Yangxi would die. Jiang Yangxi smiled mischievously. This is the spirit ascension platform. We won't really be in danger. If worst comes to worst, I'll just be a bit shaken for a few days. We've already made enough gains to make up for the losses this trip anyway. I haven't contributed much this time, so let me try this at least. After he finished speaking, without even waiting for Tang Wuling's reply, Jiang Yangxi kicked off a tree branch and swiftly climbed up the tree with the aid of his wings. Jiang Yangxi had yet to forget his first experience in the spirit ascension platform. His failure that time had brought to light many of his shortcomings. It was then that he had truly understood he wasn't the most outstanding student in his class anymore. As he approached the top of the tree, a shocking scene filled his eyes. In his first trip into the spirit ascension platform, he had only seen a single green bird flying, but this time, he witnessed flocks of all kinds of flying soul beasts that covered the sky. There were a few green birds among the massive beasts and were in a chaotic battle against each other. Every once in a while, a killed soul beast would drop from the sky and into the forest thicket. What is this? Just as he was about to reach the tree's peak, he saw a giant nest with several pitch black eggs within. The eggs were large, each similar to the size of a large ball. These should be a flying soul beast's eggs. Big brother is really apologetic, but I'll have to crack you. Jiang Yangxi quickly picked up an egg and lifted it overhead. Utilizing his second soul skill, Eagle soars the sky. He rushed into the sky. Hey, whose egg is this? Quickly come claim it. Jiang Yangxi shouted at the top of his lungs. The nearby flying soul beasts turned their gazes to this newly ascended human. A moment later, a gigantic black soul beast released a sharp cry full of wrath. Hee. Catch. While saying this, Jiang Yangxi threw the egg toward the speeding red specks on the ground. After provoking the flying soul beasts, he slapped his escape button with lightning speed. Mission accomplished. Jiang Yangxi disappeared in a flash of light while dozens of gigantic flying soul beasts dove into the forest. As the spirit energy contained within Jiang Yangxi's body began to disperse, the flying soul beasts arrived just in time to absorb it. I stole your egg, but you're gaining so much spirit energy that you're profiting from this. Of course, you still need to survive the battle with the blazing demon lions. These were Jiang Yangxi's final thoughts as he disappeared from the spirit ascension platform. The last 2 remaining heard a cacophony of twigs breaking and leaves rustling from behind them. Following that, the pressure of the lions' pursuit dissipated. Tang Wuling and Shishi exchanged a knowing look. They knew that Jiang Yangxi had succeeded. Nicely done. Shishi couldn't help but praise their fallen comrade. Jiang Yangxi had given up on absorbing more spirit energy in order to create an opportunity for his teammates to survive. Although, I don't think he had enough spiritual power to absorb much more spirit energy anyways. Haha. She heartily laughed as he sped up once more. Tang Wuling couldn't help but crack a smile too. Although he was absorbing more and more spirit energy, he had yet to reach his limits. As for his teammates with 2 rings, however, they were probably feeling awfully bloated by now. Suddenly, a dark golden radiance flashed ahead of them. She wasn't able to stop his mad dash forward in time, so his body was instantly sliced up into pieces and scattered onto the forest floor. Shishi's corpse then disappeared in a flash of light. Tang Wuling's scalp began to tingle. Without any hesitation, he shot blue silver grass out of his hand toward a tree, forcefully changing his direction. Another dark gold light flashed by and an ear-piercing hissing sound came from where he had been standing just a split second ago. 3 lines in the air could be made out. Chapter 147. The True King. Half of Shishi's spirit energy flew toward Tang Wuling while the other half flew in another direction. As he watched the energy fly away, a giant figure emerged. It was an enormous bear, its fur dark gold in color, standing over 3 meters tall. It had big arms and its majestic shoulders, akin to a great wall. 4 golden claws of at least 1 meter in length extended from each paw. Shishi. Tang Wuling screamed in agony within his heart, for he knew just what sort of backlash she would experience after being slashed into pieces. Although dying in the spirit ascension platform did not signify a true death, soul masters would still face powerful mental backlash from their death experience. Though they all had plenty of experience in this by now, it was still Shishi's first time being killed in such a gruesome manner. Tang Wuling could instantly recognize the formidable soul beast before him. As a matter of fact, it would be impossible for him to not recognize it. It was simply too famous in the world of soul masters, reputed to be the strongest soul beast in the world, the dusk-gold dreadclaw bear. It was rumored that the dusk-gold dreadclaw bear was one of the most powerful bears within history, and when mature, it would not need to fear any predator, not even true dragons. Should a battle between titans come to pass, the outcome would be difficult to guess. The dusk-gold dreadclaw bear preferred to live independently, whether it be attack or defense. It possessed overwhelming power in every aspect. It truly was an existence that stood at the apex of the soul beast world. If the blazing demon lions were said to be one of the top predators in the elementary spirit ascension platform, then when faced with the dusk-gold dreadclaw bear, all they would be able to do was beg for their lives. The reason was simple. Throughout the ages, the dusk-gold dreadclaw bear had always been an existence that stood at the very peak. This dusk-gold dreadclaw bear before his eyes was only 3 meters tall, but should still be at the 100-year level, if not higher, in comparison to other 100-year soul beasts. If it was said that a 100-year man-faced demon spider could kill a 1,000-year soul beast, then a 100-year dusk-gold dreadclaw bear could make even 10,000-year level soul beasts run away in fear. That was just how frightening it was. Never in his wildest dreams did Tang Wuling expect to run into this legendary bear within the rebellion spirit ascension platform. After all, wouldn't such an amazing beast appear in the higher-leveled spirit ascension platforms instead? Fight it! You have got to be joking with me. Tang Wuling threw his hammer straight at the dusk-gold dreadclaw bear before turning around and fleeing. Clang! A metallic note rang out as the dusk-gold dreadclaw bear tore the hammer apart with one swipe. Furthermore, it had already completely absorbed the spirit energy left behind by Shishi. Such a powerful claw. At this moment, a bizarre thought popped into Tang Wuling's mind. Is my golden dragon claw stronger, or its dusk-gold dreadclaw? Pressured by the dangerous aura behind him, Tang Wuling felt as if the entire forest had darkened. As soon as the dusk-gold dreadclaw bear had appeared, the entire forest fell into a complete silence. Not even the chirping of birds could be heard. Having dealt with the unexpected troubles from the sky, the blazing demon lions roared and rushed toward Tang Wuling. Tang Wuling knew that it was impossible for him to escape. He clenched his teeth and ran headfirst into the pride of lions. Regardless of who kills me, you won't get off lightly either. He didn't immediately hit his ejection button. To him, even a little bit more spirit energy absorbed could lead to a wonderful situation. He wanted to hold out and absorb as much energy as possible. The head lion stood over 4 meters tall and had a fiery red mane like a flickering flame. Its entire body was coated in an orange fire. A domineering aura emanated from its body, which was only bolstered when it roared roughly as if it was proclaiming its sovereignty. It was telling all the surrounding soul beasts that it was the ruler of this forest. With one glance, it spotted Tang Wuling, his rich aura of spirit energy instantly catching its attention. The blazing demon lion snarled a command to its lionesses, who quickly split up and surrounded Tang Wuling while it pounced directly at him. With such a fat slab of meat in front of it, how could it share with others? Its strength would leap substantially if it absorbed all of Tang Wuling's spirit energy. At that moment, however, Tang Wuling suddenly leapt up. A strand of blue silver grass shot out. Pulling on it, he instantly changing his direction. A dark gold light flew out, announcing the arrival of the dusk-gold dreadclaw bear. Its speed was completely uncharacteristic of its gigantic body. It hadn't made a single noise while running. Aflame with arrogance and wildness, the 1,000-year blazing demon lion took one look at the bear and, as if a switch had been flipped, it immediately pressed down on all 4 legs and skidded to a halt. The flames on its body blew out and even its fiery mane had become dull. It flipped over a few times and landed in front of the bear with its tail between its legs. Rather than immediately trying to flee, it crawled on the floor and let out some sad cries. This is the blazing demon lion king. Is it really a 1,000-year blazing demon lion? Tang Wuling was dumbstruck as he witnessed such a shocking scene. Isn't that guy just a little kitty now? That was right. In front of the dusk-gold dreadclaw bear, the 1,000-year blazing demon lion and its lionesses were merely kittens. All their fires had extinguished as they crawled on the floor, swishing their tails as they begged for pity. The dusk-gold dreadclaw bear didn't even put them in its eyes. Its icy gaze had been fixed on Tang Wuling the entire time. Tang Wuling urgently raised his right claw just as a dark gold light flashed, filling his heart with panic. He immediately pulled on the strand of blue silver grass he had shot out and swung in another direction. A gigantic dark gold figure destroyed everything in the place he had been just a split second before. That was right. Everything. There wasn't even any rumbling as the trees, bushes and even the earth were torn to shreds. Dusk-gold dreadclaw. That's a real dusk-gold dreadclaw. It could even tear open a dragon's body. The humongous dusk-gold dreadclaw bear soared into the air with a terrifying leap, overtaking Tang Wuling in a flash. I'll risk it all. A golden light twinkled in Tang Wuling's eyes as he directed all his soul power into his right arm. A wave of golden scales covered his arms and his golden dragon claw appeared. Compared to the huge dusk-gold dreadclaw, Tang Wuling's golden dragon claw was simply tiny. He fiercely slashed at the dusk-gold dreadclaw with his dragon claw. While attacking, Tang Wuling adjusted his posture in the air, keeping his head away from the bear. Even if his golden dragon claw was torn apart and his body was cleaved into 2, it would be fine as long as his head wasn't destroyed immediately. If it were, the split second of pain he would experience would leave many residual effects. He had just decided on this retaliation, because if he didn't test the true might of his golden dragon claw, he would regret it. Clang! The golden dragon claw met with the dusk-gold dreadclaw in an explosive collision. In the brief moment that their 2 claws had clashed, Tang Wuling felt all his soul power being drawn out and his blood boiling. In particular, a spot between his eyebrows was burning as a faint golden light appeared. As the dusk-gold dreadclaw swept past, it not only missed his head, but also his entire upper body. Unfortunately, Tang Wuling's golden dragon claw disappeared in the next moment while the dusk-gold dreadclaw continued to slash across his body. Shishi had been torn in half vertically, while Tang Wuling was cleaved in half horizontally. The last thing he felt was his lower body separating from his upper body. An icy numbness washed over him as darkness enveloped his mind. Chapter 148, full marks and 99 points. Hurry. Quickly go save him. Does this child not recognize the dusk-gold dreadclaw bear? Why didn't he hit the ejection button? An anxious voice echoed in Tang Wuling's mind as he gradually regained consciousness. The icy numbness fading from his body at the same time. A metallic friction sound rang out and in the next moment, light filled his eyes. I'm back. I'm fine. Those were Tang Wuling's first thoughts, but then he noticed something strange about his state. Why do I feel fine? His body had been shredded into pieces, so he should be experiencing strong residual effects, and yet, he didn't feel anything in particular. How are you doing? Wu Zhangkong's face appeared above the metal box. Staff members also came over, prodding Tang Wuling's body with a sort of popsicle-looking thing. Are you conscious? Do you feel cold? Yes, Tang Wuling answered. He's awake and has feeling. This is odd. He recovered this quickly. Tang Wuling grabbed the edge of the metal box and slowly pulled himself up. A burst of weakness struck his brain, as if his mind had tired. Apart from this, everything else felt normal for him. Teacher, I'm fine. After confirming that his body had no abnormalities, Tang Wuling got out of the metal box. Wang Jingxi, Jiang Yangxi and Du Yue were waiting at the side, standing right beside his box. Du Yue only let out a breath of relief when she saw Tang Wuling sit up. However, the box next to his was bustling with people. Shishi, that's Shishi's box. Shishi should be fine, right? Tang Wuling anxiously asked. How is Shishi's state right now? Wu Zhangkong said. He managed to avoid having his head destroyed at the final moment, but the spiritual backlash for the rest of his body is still great. He's currently unconscious, but he should wake up after resting a bit. Oh, he's conscious. A long sigh of relief escaped from Tang Wuling after hearing that Shishi was awake. The most important thing after exiting the spirit ascension platform was waking up. As long as one was able to wake up, the body would be able to slowly recover. After all, they hadn't truly sustained any injuries. Tang Wuling quickly reached Shishi's box and peered inside. Shishi's complexion was pale and his body was twitching. Abnormal twitching of the body was a typical residual effect from dying in the spirit ascension platform. Twitching is normal after dying in there, but there aren't any effects in my body at all. Why aren't I twitching too? Tang Wuling wasn't the only person thinking of this question. Within Wu Zhangkong's heart, he was asking himself the exact same question. It was obvious, however, that Tang Wuling was unable to answer this question. As long as everybody is fine, then that's good. Wu Zhangkong dully said. Wuling, thank you. Shishi's weak voice called out from the metal box. Huh? What are you thanking me for? Tang Wuling smiled bitterly. Shishi forced out a difficult smile. Thank you for your 1,000 refined cloud titanium vest. If I hadn't worn it on my shoulders, helping to block some of the attack and giving me enough time to react, then my head might have been shredded too. That would have been truly troubling. It was only then that Tang Wuling understood Shishi's words. Although it had seemed to him that Shishi had been sliced apart, the vest had still slightly protected him. With his sharp reflexes as an agility system soulmaster, he had just been able to narrowly avoid having his head destroyed. Come to think of it, it was also like that when the Dust Gold Dreadclaw bear tore me apart from the waist down. It's just that I was already dodging at that time. You guys cheated. Wu Zhangkong's cold voice suddenly cut in as he stood there holding a vest. That vest was undoubtedly Shishi's, stripped off during his post-ejection medical inspection. Tang Wuling immediately blushed with embarrassment and awkwardness. Teacher Wu, that shouldn't be considered cheating, right? I only made it because I was afraid everyone would suffer like Wang Jingxi the first time. Wu Zhangkong handed the vest to Tang Wuling and indifferently commented, the craftsmanship is not bad. You can already 1,000 refine. Ah. Tang Wuling was stunned. Yes. Wu Zhangkong said, for the first part of your final exam, everyone gets full marks except for you, the captain. You get points deducted because you cheated and encouraged your teammates to cheat. Your final exam score is. Tang Wuling listened anxiously for the final verdict, his heart racing. Just 99 points. Huh, 99 points? That's not a huge difference from 100 though. At that moment, Tang Wuling was at a loss as to how to react. The Jiang Yangxi at the side had already started yelling, long live Teacher Wu. Wu Zhangkong coldly responded, don't get so excited just yet. There's still one more section to your final exam. You will need to pass this section too in order to pass your exams. A staff member brought out a machine to stabilize Shishi's conditions. This machine sent electric currents into his body to alleviate the side effects of the spirit ascension platform. Shishi had suffered from many residual effects after being killed, so it took him over an hour before he was able to muster enough strength to sit up. Everyone else had already recovered and were all waiting for Shishi. Tang Wuling walked to Wu Zhangkong's side and softly asked, I still have another entry card for the Rebellion Spirit Ascension platform. Am I actually able to go in again? MN. Wu Zhangkong stared at the card in Tang Wuling's hand, a trace of astonishment flashing through his eyes. The Blacksmiths Association gave this to me. Tang Wuling didn't bother trying to hide it. Wu Zhangkong's impression of Tang Wuling changed. He then shook his head and said, you don't need to go in again. There's no meaning in it for you. As the rebellion period progresses, the Spirit Ascension platform will grow increasingly powerful, and even more rabid soul beasts will emerge. If you go in right now, you won't be able to survive for long at all. You can just hold on to the card for now and use it during the next rebellion period. The card itself is also worth a lot. You could auction it off for quite a sum. Tang Wuling had originally wanted to return to the Rebellion Spirit Ascension platform to absorb more spirit energy, but after hearing Wu Zhangkong's words, he understood that his thoughts had been too naive. Teacher Wu, I have an idea, but I'm not sure if it's possible to achieve or not. It's about the spirit energy we absorbed. This time we. Just as Tang Wuling was about to explain, Wu Zhangkong's hand shot out and covered his mouth. Wu Zhangkong's eyes shifted to the nearby Spirit Pagoda staff members then whispered, we'll discuss this when we get back. Tang Wuling realized his error. That's right. We had absorbed so much spirit energy this time that we must have surpassed the average. I really shouldn't talk about this in front of the Spirit Pagoda members. Yes. Shishi was piggybacked by Tang Wuling all the way back to the academy. Although Shishi was recovered now, he still didn't have full control over his body and all his movements were uncoordinated. According to a Spirit Pagoda staff member, he would need at least a day to recover from this state. Fortunately, there would be no lasting effects. As for whether a shadow had been cast over his heart, only Shishi could answer that. I'm fine. I didn't even see what soul beast killed me, so why would I have a shadow over my heart? Shishi said, all thick-skinned. That's good then. A faint smile appeared on Tang Wuling's lips after hearing such a typical response from Shishi. Shishi grumpily complained, it's so unfair. You were slashed apart too, yet why are you completely fine? Tang Wuling shrugged. I don't know either. Anyways, I'm just happy I made it out all right. Perhaps it's also related to your body strength. Your body is still too weak. How about you come with me on morning runs from now on? It'll increase your constitution and strength. Shishi teased. All right, I can go meet that senior sister with you then. Tang Wuling blushed crimson. What meeting with the senior sister? Stop talking about things you don't know about. Du Yue's gaze instantly locked onto Tang Wuling, while Jiang Yangxi and Wang Jingxi cast curious glances in his direction. Tang Wuling said dismissively, it's nothing. There are a lot of people going on runs in the morning, so naturally I've met a few seniors. Even though the words he spoke denied it, a delicate face appeared within his heart. It was just as Shishi had said. Every day he would be able to see Ouyang Zixin on his morning runs. Although he only greeted her each time and occasionally spoke a few words with her, the more he ran, the more familiar he had grown with her. Moreover, he was so accustomed to seeing her every morning that disappointment would fill his heart if she wasn't there one morning. Go back and rest properly. We'll be summarizing your experiences tomorrow. Tang Wuling, come to my quarters. Wu Zhangkong immediately issued out these commands the moment they arrived at the academy. Tang Wuling first delivered Shishi to his room and laid him down to rest before heading over to Wu Zhangkong's office. Wuling, you must remember that in the future, regardless of whether it be the Spirit Ascension platform or the Spirit Pagoda, you mustn't speak of any ideas. Instead, wait until you come back. Understood? Wu Zhangkong advised. Tang Wuling nodded. Understood, teacher, but why? If the Spirit Ascension platform is a problem, shouldn't I tell the Spirit Pagoda? Chapter 149. It's possible in theory. Wu Zhangkong said, you're still young and there are some things you needn't know about just yet. As long as you remember my words, you'll be fine. The Spirit Pagoda doesn't think the same way you do. They possess so much power that even the Federation is afraid of them. Moreover, the Spirit Pagoda spans across 2 other continents too. Tang Wuling was stunned. Other continents? The Douluo continent and the Heaven Dou continent. Teacher, have you ever been to the other 2 continents? Do you know what's different about them? Tang Wuling curiously asked. Wu Zhangkong calmly answered, there are many different kinds of places in this world, and you'll know what they are like when you visit them in the future. But for now, you shouldn't be thinking about that. Now tell me, what did you feel in the Spirit Ascension platform today? Seeing that Wu Zhangkong didn't wish to talk about the other 2 continents, Tang Wuling wisely chose to drop the topic and quickly began explaining his thoughts. Teacher Wu, after absorbing all that spirit energy today, I realized that it'll be extremely hard for my teammates with 2 soul rings to evolve their spirit souls. In fact, it's practically impossible for them to evolve them to the 1,000-year level since the spirit energy is split between their 2 rings evenly. Even if they did evolve their spirit souls to the 1,000-year level, their bodies wouldn't be able to bear 2,000-year soul rings. Not to mention that neither Wang Jingxi's nor Jiang Yangxi's spiritual power is strong enough to handle a single 1,000-year spirit soul yet. Isn't this the reason it's so hard for soul masters to evolve their spirit souls in the Spirit Ascension platform? Wu Zhangkong nodded. The fact that you've arrived at this conclusion shows just how seriously you have been thinking about this. Not bad. Even if you had enough resources to enter the Spirit Ascension platform more times, there is still a limit to what your body can handle. In the end, your chances of success would still be tiny. What you really should be considering isn't that. MN. Tang Wuling nodded in understanding. I think my situation is actually a bit special. My body is stronger than an ordinary soul master's, so I'm actually able to support a 1,000-year soul ring despite only having one ring. I'm not restricted to an up to 400 years ring like other one ring soul masters. My spiritual power is also at the spirit connection realm, so if I absorb enough spirit energy, I should be able to gain a 1,000-year spirit soul, right? For a moment, a glimmer of surprise twinkled in Wu Zhangkong's eyes before he nodded and said, it's possible in theory, but you will have to absorb enough spirit energy to evolve your spirit soul before you gain a second soul ring. Moreover, your body will need to be able to bear 2,000-year soul rings when it comes time for your second soul ring. Wu Zhangkong's words immediately reminded Tang Wuling of something. That's right. If I evolve my spirit soul to the 1,000-year level, that means my second soul ring will also be at the 1,000-year level. It's no problem for me to handle 1,000-year soul ring right now, but will I be able to handle 2,000-year soul rings by the time I become a soul grandmaster? Wu Zhangkong continued. How about this? We'll run some tests on your body later and figure out just how much you can bear. We already know your spiritual power can support a single 1,000-year spirit soul, so all that's left to determine is whether or not your body can bear 2,000-year soul rings. You'll really be a unique case if you can. Thank you, teacher. Teacher Wu isn't the only person I can ask about how much my body can bear. I can also ask Old Tang. After Tang Wuling left, Wu Zhangkong sat there in deep thought. There really is something special about Tang Wuling. I think he'll actually be able to do it. Should he actually obtain a 1,000-year spirit soul, then even though his martial soul is weak, it will be enough to make up for it and make him strong. This set of circumstances is even rare in Shrek Academy. However, this isn't a certainty. After all, I've never entered the land of the true monsters of Shrek. He should only be a step away from evolving his spirit soul once more. It seems I'll need to conduct some special tests on him. Wu Zhangkong narrowed his eyes. It's best to keep this matter a secret from the spirit pagoda. At the very least, this can't be revealed until he's stronger. As his train of thought traveled along this path, a series of plans began to form. He had never expected these children to make such a great harvest this time in the rebellion spirit ascension platform. Without a doubt, having survived the longest, it was Tang Wuling who had benefited most. He had absorbed the most spirit energy with Gu Yue in second place. She had suddenly broke through to become a 2-ring soul grandmaster, gaining enough power to even defeat a 3-ring soul elder who had 2 spirit souls and a powerful martial soul. It was true that her opponent had been careless, but it would have been impossible to grasp a victory without her insane control over the elements. Nobody knew just how strong Gu Yue's spiritual power was after gaining her second soul ring. This little girl had a chance of reaching the spirit sea realm by the time she turned 15. The other spirit souls had also made some progress, but now they were faced with a problem. They couldn't enter the spirit ascension platform again for a while, otherwise they might accidentally absorb too much spirit energy which would negatively influence their bodies. He had never expected they would make so much progress in a short 6 months. According to the original plan they had for class 0, they shouldn't be this powerful until the 3rd grade. It seems I'll have to adjust the originally planned curriculum. Old Tang, now that I have fully absorbed the power of the first seal, how many soul rings and spirit souls can my body handle? The moment Tang Wuling returned to his room, he began meditating to call out Old Tang. Old Tang's body was still bathed in a golden light, but for some reason, Tang Wuling felt as though the light had grown a bit more resplendent than before. Old Tang also no longer seemed as transparent to him. Old Tang asked, "Oh, what do you mean? Is there a problem with your soul rings?" Tang Wuling didn't know why, but he placed an immense amount of trust in this mysterious Old Tang that dwelled within his body. He didn't bother to hide anything as he explained what had happened in the spirit ascension platform, as well as his thoughts on the spirit soul evolution he had already experienced. After hearing his explanation, Old Tang suddenly blurted out, "I understand what you're thinking. You're worried that your body won't be able to absorb that much spirit energy, correct? That's right. That's what I'm worried about." Tang Wuling hurriedly added, "So what level of soul ring do you think my body can bear right now? And my spirit soul?" Old Tang said, "This is actually a very simple matter since there's no one more familiar with your body than your spiritual power is gradually increasing. But your job to find a way to improve faster. It would be best for you to find a spiritual power cultivation method that will help you increase your spiritual power improvement rate. With your current level, you should be able to support a single 1,000-year spirit soul or 200-year spirit souls. As for soul rings, you need not worry. Having absorbed the power of the Golden Dragon King's first seal, it'll be no problem for your body to bear 2,000-year soul rings." Tang Wuling said, "Then, is it possible for me to break the second seal before I reach rank 20? And what level will my body reach after absorbing the second seal's power?" Old Tang answered, "Based on your body's current condition, it should be possible. However, you will need to find the items I told you about first. You can only break the second seal after obtaining those items. You will also need to strengthen your body further by that time. Actually, if you really can evolve your spirit soul and soul ring to the 1,000-year level, it will provide you with an overall improvement to both your body and essence. So I fully encourage you to evolve them before you reach rank 20. When that time comes, I'll give you some new advice. Just remember though, the earlier you break the seals, the higher the chance they will break on their own in the future, and so your period of safety will become even smaller." Chapter 150, The Shu Clan Siblings. The seals will break on their own. They can do that. Tang Wuling doubtfully asked. Old Tang said, "Of course. If you grow old enough or accidentally run into something that purifies the Golden Dragon King's essence, then there's a chance that a seal might break forcefully. Should that happen, you'll be faced with great danger. More importantly, the latter seals will become even firmer. Basically, the more seals you break by yourself, the lower the chances are that the following seals will break automatically and endanger your life. It would be best if they never break by themselves. Otherwise." Old Tang didn't finish his sentence, but the grim tone in his voice made his meaning clear. "Thank you, Old Tang. I'll definitely do my best. My goal now is to first evolve my spirit soul to the 1,000-year level. That's right. Do your best. You all scored highly on yesterday's exam, and this can be attributed to each of you doing exactly what was necessary. It seems that the last 3 months haven't been a waste after all. At the very least, you are now a functional team." Strangely enough, although Wu Zhangkong was clearly praising his students, his voice was still as icy as ever. The 5 students were doubting whether they should be happy or ashamed. "Tang Wuling, your control has obviously made much progress. Good work, and continue to do your best. Unfortunately, every one of you has absorbed too much spirit energy yesterday. So once the final exam period is over, we'll run some tests again and figure out just how much more spirit energy your bodies can bear. Keep in mind that it is absolutely crucial that you do not absorb energy beyond your limits." Based on his initial observations, Wu Zhangkong proceeded to summarize the battles from the previous day and gave them his assessment. The 5 students couldn't help but beam proudly as he talked about the rebellion spirit ascension platform, especially when he mentioned the man-faced demon spider. A sort of wonderfully unfathomable feeling still lingered in their hearts at the thought of that battle. Although Gu Yue had not yet broken through to 2 rings at the time of that battle, her tactics had been absolutely perfect. "Tang Wuling, I have a question for you. Was it part of your plan to use the man-faced demon spider's toxic webs after its death to kill even more soul beasts?" Wu Zhangkong's burning gaze bore into Tang Wuling. Tang Wuling ardently shook his head. "I was thinking that if I let it spin its web, then it would lower its guard and we would be able to use the webs as a protective barrier after it died. I'd never imagined that the webs would actually kill so many soul beasts for us, letting us absorb so much spirit energy." Wu Zhangkong gave a slight nod. "While your coordination control was exceptional, you must keep in mind that the essence of a control system soul master is to never let your opponent know your intent. This time, your constant, coordinated attack served to misdirect the enemy's attention, creating a vital opening for you." At the mention of this, Tang Wuling could only scratch his head in embarrassment. Wu Zhangkong continued, "But you are still not calm enough. After killing the man-faced demon spider, it was clear that you all lost your previous tension. Compared to your state of mind from before the battle, the difference was too great. Did you feel satisfied after gaining that much in the spirit ascension platform?" The students looked at each other in dismay. Even Tang Wuling was no different in that he had harbored the same thoughts at that time. After all, by then, they had already gained far more than they had planned. Wu Zhangkong said, "Then let me ask you one question. What if you had been in a real forest that time, facing a horde of rebellious soul beasts? Would you still be standing before me now?" No one dared to utter a word. Wu Zhangkong continued his lecture. "Remember this. No matter how enticing or how beneficial something is, it cannot compare to the value of your life." She meekly said, "Teacher Wu, I have a question. If we encounter something like the Dust Gold Dreadclaw Bear in the future, what should we do?" Wu Zhangkong answered without the slightest hesitation. "Run. If you don't run, then you die. She stared at Wu Zhangkong in shock. Wu Zhangkong said, the dusk gold dreadclaw bear is a special kind of soul beast. From the moment of its birth, it is a king. Its strength simply can't be measured in years, unlike normal soul beasts. But there's no point in continuing this conversation. It would be miraculous for you to encounter a dusk gold dreadclaw bear in the future, since they have already been hunted to near extinction long ago. Is it because they're dangerous? Zhang Yangxi asked. Wu Zhangkong shook his head. No. It's because there's a high chance of collecting a soul bone from them. From the perspective of soul beasts, humanity is the greediest existence in the world. Soul beasts are on the brink of extinction not because they are a danger to us, but because hunting them brings us too many benefits. Tang Wolin was dumbstruck at these words. For the first time, he was exposed to the true relationship between humanity and soul beasts. When he thought back to all the soul beasts he had killed in the Spirit Ascension platform, his feelings of triumph couldn't help but turn a bit sour. Those soul beasts had only been illusory existences, but still, big brother, don't be so angry. Xu Xiaoan timidly begged her brother. Xu Xiaoyu's distorted expression looked ready to erupt. He couldn't feel anything but anger at the moment. Their clan had paid such a heavy price to obtain entry cards to the Rebellion Spirit Ascension platform for the two of them. Yet, due to his moment of carelessness, they had both been eliminated. The sensation of being annihilated by that elemental attack remained vivid in his mind. It had taken him a full day of rest to recover. The only people in the Rebellion Spirit Ascension platform region we entered yesterday should have been soul masters from East Sea City. From their age, they should currently be attending an intermediate academy. Could they really be students of East Sea Academy? Xu Xiaoyu narrated his thoughts with an ashen expression. Xu Xiaoan remained stunned for a moment. Really? If that's true, then they should be my seniors. Although Xu Xiaoyu was the only son in their clan, his stubbornness and arrogance displeased the elders. On the other hand, the gentle and timid Xu Xiaoan was an absolute treasure in their eyes. Despite the fact that Xu Xiaoan was gifted with innate soul power, she didn't like to cultivate. Fortunately, with an outstanding elder brother like Xu Xiaoyu protecting her, no one dared force her. When she had first awakened her martial soul 3 years ago, the clan had run tests on her using their equipment, only to discover that not only did she have soul power at rank 17, she also had a martial soul that had undergone a starlight phenomena rarely seen throughout the history of their clan. After this, they realized that she was an even greater genius than the outstanding Xu Xiaoyu. The Xu family was the largest clan in East Sea City, and Xu Xiaoyu and Xu Xiaoan's father was the minister of East Sea City's financial affairs, which was a position with much prestige and influence. When he found out that his daughter possessed the legendary martial soul of their clan, he was simply overjoyed. He used his power and influence to obtain another entrance card so that his son and daughter could enter the Rebellion Spirit Ascension platform together. Before they entered, he had repeatedly warned Xu Xiaoyu to take care of his little sister and to help her gain as much spirit energy as possible. Due to Xu Xiaoan's timidness and her lack of soul master training, she had been cowering in fear behind her brother from the moment they entered the Spirit Ascension platform. She didn't have the courage to kill a single soul beast. Xu Xiaoyu was able to absorb a great amount of spirit power, but his younger sister, with her reluctance to kill, had barely absorbed any. As he tried his hardest to convince her to at least attack the next soul beast they came across, they accidentally stumbled upon Tang Wulin's team of 5. Afterwards, they were met with tragedy. Upon returning home, not only did he have to suffer the side effects of his body, he also had to endure a lecture from his father. It would have been strange if he was still in a good mood after all that. Don't let me find out who they are, otherwise, I won't be able to stop myself. Xu Xiaoyu said grimly. Despite his words, Gu Yue's apathetic expression and serene appearance appeared within his mind. Although she wasn't as pretty as his little sister, she possessed an amazing temperament. Just how had she been able to control that many elements? Even now, Xu Xiaoyu's heart was in turmoil with his doubts and confusion. Teacher Wu, the final part of our exam is about to start. Will today's combat class be postponed? Zhang Yangxi flatteringly asked Wu Zhangkong the moment he entered the room. This was to be expected, of course. With their holidays upon them, it was only normal for students to start feeling a bit lazy. Wu Zhangkong dully said, due to the amount of spirit power you all absorbed this time in the Spirit Ascension platform, the Academy has arranged for you to test your soul ring year levels and your bodies again. Don't think that you can squander your time just because you are young. If you don't put in effort at this age, it'll be useless to begin putting in effort when you grow old. Don't you all have a good understanding of each other? Combat class will still proceed as planned. I've thought about it for a while, and considering your current situations, it wouldn't be suitable for you all to enter the Spirit Ascension platform again for a while. Your combat classes will actually need to be modified a bit. Follow me. Wu Zhangkong immediately turned on his heel and walked out. Crestfallen, Zhang Yangxi muttered, Teacher Wu is so unreasonable. Thanks so much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Also leave a comment down below with suggestions on what novels to read.